What up, friends?
What up, world? It's your boy Jimbo.
And I'm that guy, Joe.
And welcome to another beautiful OBAAT on the road. Today, we're at Sandy Valley. We've got their brewer, Kyle.
What's going on?
Kyle invited us out here to check out this gorgeous property. I mean, look at where we are today.
Yeah, man, it's a hot one, but it's kind of perfect out here.
Yeah. So this is Sandy Valley Brewery. It is also a winery. Villa Antonio is the winery. Kyle handles the brewing. That's kind of why we're out here today.
Yeah,
obviously, you can see the vineyards around you, but I mean, this is a gorgeous hidden gem in nature out here in Hillsboro.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So Kyle's going to introduce us to some beers today. Going to take us around the property a little bit, check the place out, and yeah, let's check it out.
Let's drink some beer.
All right, so we're here to taste some Sandy Valley beers.
Yeah.
Got Kyle here, poured us up a whole 2 flights plus one. We're going to start off here on the front. So the first one, this is Solana.
Solana,
yeah. How do you say it?
So that is our Missouri rice lager, brewed with rice that's grown down in Jackson, Missouri. Super light, crisp. Let me know what you guys think.
It's the one I'm most familiar with.
Yeah.
I love a rice lager, man. That's what I was saying inside. Like,
4.7%, great for hot weather like today.
yeah, man, not enough people do them.
That
is crisp, refreshing, light. I mean, dude.
You know what that beer's perfect for? Sitting next to a lake.
Yeah. You're like,
Oh, look at that.
In August.
right. First weekend of August,
Like,
lakeside.
I mean,
no, man, I love rice lagers for real, and especially like here in Missouri, I have not been able to find too many.
Mhm.
Just in general, it's not the most common brew. I love that. If you've never had one, since we do a show about beer, and we're always encouraging you to try craft beer. So if you're somebody who's a domestic drinker, and you're like, I don't like craft this way, you got to try something like this. It doesn't taste anything like a regular lager, like a domestic type beer. It doesn't taste like a Bud Light, anything like that. But it's as light.
it's
and
as
more
light.
crisp.
Yeah, it's as light, and it's not got a bunch of funky stuff in it to where, Joe and I, we're big hopheads. We love stouts. We love porters. But for your non-craft beer drinker, they're always worried about, funky tasting beer. No, this is just a good, crisp, clean beer.
Yeah, man.
It's going to taste different than your normal American lager. It's made with rice. It's fantastic.
It might be a beer bro phrase, but this is a fucking crusher, man.
Yeah. So we're going to go on to the next one, which is Union.
Union, yep, nailed it. So that's our Helles with silver needle white tea. So lagered for 8 weeks, and then we sourced a rare varietal of tea from the Yunnan province of China. So that's where the name comes from.
Okay.
So this one's going to be just like a step up from the rice lager. It's going to have a little bit of like some herbal tones to it, kind of this like fruitiness and a little bit more breadiness. That's characteristic of a Helles. And that's actually the first one for you as well.
So we're going to taste this one. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Sandy Valley, what you guys kind of have a unique thing going on, kind of a unique brewery, kind of a unique philosophy, maybe.
Yep.
You just kind of want to tell us about
that.
Yeah.
So what we specialize in is brewing beers with locally farmed and foraged ingredients, and as well as ingredients from around the nation and abroad that are ethically and responsibly sourced, because we think that's super important to make sure we're doing here. We're a big fan of trying to figure out what the world has to offer in forms of flavor. A lot of things that people aren't necessarily looking towards in the beer world, to infuse some unique stuff into our beers. And then kind of a secondary thing too that we do is we focus on session beers. So a lot of what you're drinking today is, in that 4 to 6% range.
Yeah.
Because it's the environmentally responsible thing to do, I think, as brewers, because it's an easy sort of low-hanging fruit thing to do to be a little bit better for the planet, because, it's reduce, reuse, recycle, and reduce being that first one. So if we can reduce what we're putting into these beers as far as malt, water, and hops, then it's less of a strain on the planet.
Yeah, and I haven't heard that perspective on it.
No.
That does make sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, plus, dude, guys like us that love good stouts and real heady IPAs and stuff. It's like a lot of those are high ABV. But
Mhm.
we just like those beers. It's not. I mean, yeah, we drink beer to get a buzz, but like
Right.
we actually just like enjoy those beers, and they happen to have high ABV.
Right.
It's nice with these options because it's like, hey man, if we're gonna hang out and do yard work and shit,
Totally.
drink a 12
Yeah.
Yeah.
even if I really like the IPA, it's not going to be like a 10, 11% IPA.
Yeah.
I'm
It's not
not
gonna get you
drinking
through the
12 of
day.
those while we're doing a project in the backyard. But I mean, like these brews, yeah.
Mhm.
dude,
Yeah,
all
Yeah, and I
day.
mean a hot day like this, if you're again, we love the beers the way they taste, but like you're sipping on a 9-12%. You have a couple of those and you're in the bag when it's this hot real fast.
For sure.
And
Yeah,
it's
man.
you know,
And it
like,
just when it's this hot and you get tanked real quick on like real high ABV beer, it's not always like a fun experience.
no.
It starts
yeah.
draining
no,
out
nah,
of you real
not
quick.
great,
You know,
yeah.
you start feeling miserable. You're sweating even harder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
Right.
know?
but out by a lake, some session beers.
Yeah, and I
I
think
love
that's
the locally sourced too.
Yeah.
You were
Yep.
telling us earlier, where does the rice come from?
So the rice is from Castor River Farms down in Jackson, Missouri. It's kind of the Boot Heel area. And I was saying earlier too that I didn't before I brewed this beer, I didn't know, but Missouri's the 4th largest growing rice region in the United States, which
Crazy.
is kind of cool. Yeah.
welcome to the rice fields.
Yep.
motherfucker. No, but dude, this the Union is that you can taste that tea.
Yeah.
And that's
what I
such a
was saying. The
unique
aftertaste on it.
that
the
is
finish.
such a unique taste. Like it legit tastes like I am drinking both a beer and a cold like green tea,
Mhm.
which is again, it's gonna be kind of a running thing to say because we chose to sit out by a lake. But this is a perfect beer to be sitting at.
It just makes
You know,
sense.
it really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, you guys got a beautiful property out here. The scenery's great.
Yeah, it's nice.
We were talking about it inside. You guys haven't been out here. It's definitely worth a little trip out here. I actually really like once we got off the main road, the back road to get here is a fun little ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
It'd be great on a motorcycle, man.
In
Big
fact,
time.
a motorcycle, you got a nice little sports car that can handle those
Yeah,
curves a little
man.
bit.
Mhm.
But it's beautiful out here, and it's cool that I like how that's what I was saying. It's kind of like a backyard vibe because you don't have like a bunch of forest to walk through, but it's surrounding all the way around us. You know, great scenery, man, and the fact that you guys like just use shit from the property
Yeah,
is amazing.
it's like
Yep.
a backyard if you had a rich friend. You
But
know?
yeah, 40-acre
Well,
backyard.
it
40-acre
doesn't have-
backyard.
what I mean by that though is it doesn't have like that regular winery.
Yeah, no. It
You
just
know what I mean?
well, you know what, and it, you know, I not being negative here, but like some of the wineries in Missouri, one of the things that does get annoying is you try to go up there even in the summer. Now you said this place gets packed, and we like to hear that. We don't want business going anywhere.
Yeah.
But like, dude, you go to a winery in Missouri most of the time on a Saturday or Sunday, and you are nuts to butts. Like there's the big open space you guys have here.
Yeah.
Yep.
There is space to spread.
Yeah, and you can
out a
roam. Like you
little
can
bit.
Yeah.
go wherever, you know.
Yeah.
So that's part of the draw. I think.
You're not stuck on that one patio
Right.
with
Yeah.
100
Yeah.
blonde girls. You know, all wanting
I'm
to
a
drink.
fan of the sundresses.
Never gonna knock a sundress, buddy.
Man.
Never gonna knock a
Up
sundress.
until last weekend and this weekend, I think that's been my favorite part of going into any winery anywhere. I'm like,
Sundresses.
I do like sundresses.
Find me a straight male that doesn't.
We can set up a
And I'll
sundress
find you a
Sunday
liar.
at Sandy Valley.
Yeah, you find me a straight male that doesn't like a sundress, I'll find you a liar.
Everyone likes a good sundress.
So what is this? Woo wet?
Wu-wei, yeah.
Wu-wei?
You're pretty good at pronouncing these names. Most people aren't this good at pronouncing them. But yeah, Wu-wei. So that's our dry hopped honey kolsch.
Oh,
Dry hop
yeah.
of Citra, Vista, and El Dorado.
Ooh.
And then we got some local lemongrass in there from Eureka and from Hillsboro. And then some Chilean alfalfa chilota honey, which has a really sweet and sort of hay-like thing.
So kind of looking at your website
Dude, this is
yesterday,
awesome.
I feel like you have honey in a couple of
We
your
do a
beers,
lot of honey stuff.
which we love because we're big mead guys. We make our own mead. One of the first places we went to on the road for this show was a meadery
Mhm.
at Four Brothers and Festus. So that like finding these beers, it's another ingredient I don't see used a
Yep.
lot in
It's
beer.
super awesome and versatile.
That is just, I mean, it gives it such a
adds this
unique
nice
sweetness.
little sweetness. Yeah.
Yeah,
and
and
it's not like a bold honey flavor, but it's like if you kind of focus in on it, you can taste a little bit of honey
Yeah.
on there. But it's cool because, like, you know, I love a Kolsch, man.
Yeah.
And not enough people make them.
Yep.
Like, it's
Right.
just not
That's-
a common brew. I don't know
you know what,
why. It's so
That's been
fucking
kind of a
good.
recurring thing for this year in general, whether it's road shows or whether it's just our normal podcast. more and more people, though, I do love seeing more and more people are doing the Pilsner, Kolsch, Lager, like that realm of beer as opposed.
Yeah, man.
We've talked about it a billion times now, like how I'm glad people are getting away from like IPA, double IPA, triple IPA.
Yeah, it's like all you ever see.
And also not just doing a light lager,
but you're doing
amber lagers,
such
gold lagers,
unique stuff with it. You didn't just make a Kolsch.
Yep.
You made a really unique.
Yeah, the little sweetness
Kolsch.
is nice.
Yep. Because I figure, we're off the beaten path, so to get folks out here, it's got, we got to offer them an experience, and that extends to the beers that we make, So it's like, if this was just a Kolsch, I mean, you could drive down the street to, name your brewery in St. Louis, and find something, but you're not going to find something like this anywhere else.
That little bit of just sweetness on the finish is really cool, man.
Yep, I think the honey and the lemongrass kind of come together to do that.
Yeah, and that's a good one too, because like lemongrass, it's not real citrusy, but there's like that little tinge there,
This to me also would pair really well with that pesto we had.
Oh yeah, that's
like
true. Yeah. So
this
we had
beer,
to try some food, and everything was good. We had pizza was great. The focaccia bread was great.
Burger
was really good. But yeah, the burger looked great, man. But that fucking pesto for the focaccia, that alone,
fresh.
Was like that was star of the meal.
Honestly, to me, that pesto, but that kind of goes to not only your philosophy, but kind of the philosophy of this whole place.
Right.
Is you told me that pesto is made from ingredients grown in the garden here.
Yep.
Like you are not there. There's no Italian place in St. Louis you're going that I know of where you're going to sit down and have something as traditional as like a pesto and a focaccia, and the pesto was grown there, and handmade there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You might find a place that'll make their own pesto, but it's not grown there.
Right. We've talked about too with the focaccia. There's a native plant in Missouri called Dittany, and it's like a wild oregano. So trying to forage some of that, and then that goes into our focaccia. We've yet to do that, but like it makes a ton of sense because it's right here.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that.
Mm-hmm.
That is,
tastes just like oregano. Super cool.
Wow. Is it an herb?
Yeah, I mean it's just like a little native plant. Yeah,
that's wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool.
Native to Missouri.
Yeah.
So next up on this first flight is April.
Yep. So that is one of our year-round beers. That and Solana are year-round, and this is a fruited wheat with apricots. And then dry hopped with El Dorado. It's gonna be a little tart and super fruity. Yep.
Dry hop too.
Yep. So I do these like single hop, single fruit things where I try to pair these ingredients, these fruits with hops that I think complement what they got going on as far as the fruit character.
That is such a unique finish.
Oh wow. Yeah. Oh, and it keeps going.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I like a beer like this too, because this type of beer is a full experience. Obviously, if you can't handle craft beer, probably won't like it. But if you're a craft beer drinker, this is out of the norm. And I like any beer. I don't care what style it is. I like that when it goes down, like that back into the palate where it just keeps growing.
Yeah.
You're like,
there's experiencing new things. Yeah.
Oh, there's a different. Shit. And it just like still developing, still opening up.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, obviously the apricot, and then I feel like you get some melon as well from like the play between the apricot and the El Dorado, and a little bit of tropical fruit stuff.
And it just kind of dances
on
your palate a little bit there. Finish is really smooth, and then it just kind of lingers with that sweet apricot flavor.
Yeah.
The little bit of citrus sitting in there.
It's got tartness. Juice taste without being like a juiced beer.
Yeah.
Sometimes those get on my nerves because even when they taste good, you couple pints in, they get heavy because sometimes it's like some of these juicy
sweet
beers,
or something.
Yeah.
It almost tastes like literally just poured half a beer and then poured juice into it.
It's a little much.
Especially with some of the juicy IPAs, man. I don't want to shit on them because some of them are really good, but like sometimes that is really kind of what it tastes like. It's like, you just fucking pour orange juice in this?
Oh man. Hell, we're only halfway through this flight or this whole tasting.
Yeah, that's really
that word unique is just going to be overused. 100%. I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be overused because everything you're doing is not only unique, but it's fantastic. I mean, it's just artfully crafted, crisp, refreshing.
And
like
I mean,
you said,
this is a great
sessionable.
flight right here. This is a perfect summer flight right here.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
You got a couple lighter beers, a little bit more full flavored. The sweetness from that honey is different than the other four, and then you got one pretty juicy, whole different batch of fruit flavors.
Yep.
Now, do you can and distribute or only available here?
So we do distribute. We do not can yet. Okay. So we distribute to bars and restaurants and kegs. And then, obviously serving on tap and in crowlers and whatnot to go here. And then trying to get out to some events in the city to be able to dish beer on draft and crowlers and stuff out there too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's All right. I'm not even going to attempt this next one.
Mandarin is the next one.
Mandarin.
So this is a Hefeweizen with tangerine and local lemon balm. So we sourced the lemon balm from a couple different farms in Eureka, Hillsboro, and Godfrey, Illinois. And so it's going to be a traditional hef base, where it's basically 50-50 wheat and Pilsner, but then tangerines and lemon balm. And it's
like a
4.2%
pepperiness to that.
Yeah, from that yeast character.
Ooh.
We were talking about that last week, our last episode, on how like that's one of the favorite things with the science of how fermentation works. And we just started to understand a little bit from getting into mead about a year ago that you get these flavor profiles, and it's really trippy that it's just like that's just what the yeast did.
That's like the number one player as far as the flavor. Yeah, for sure.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, and it's just so much more like admirable because. And not to shit on anybody, but there's a lot of people that like they're just throwing additives in there. Throwing syrups and shit in there.
Right. Where you got this whole other native ingredient that creates all these different awesome flavors.
Yeah, man,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Rob and I went out and checked out a homebrew festival. It was the whole thing was one hop, one malt?
Smash.
Yeah, smash. And that was so fun to experience all the different flavors. Because again, like, it does kind of bum you out though when you have a beer and you're like, yeah, man, I kind of like the flavor of that, and then you look down and it actually says malt beverage because
with like whatever natural
they
flavors.
added a whole bunch of shit in there, rather than if you actually put the time and effort into the craft like you have and the art into it, you can come up with some beautiful flavors
from natural sources. Yeah,
but it also has like kind of a classic hef finish too.
Yeah,
I love Hefeweizen.
I do
too. I like this, and then there's a little bit of a different spin. It's maybe a little bit. It's not quite as sweet as maybe most hefs are, but that's cool with me because it's a good summer beer with that tartness that it finishes from the tangerine.
But it finishes kind of traditional.
Yeah, right. You get that yeast character on the end for sure.
It's pretty sweet.
Yep.
How long you been brewing, man?
I've been brewing for 10 years now.
Nice.
Okay. So about a third of my life, which is pretty crazy to say, but it's been wild. I started out at Charlottesville, Morgan Street, and Modern here in St. Louis.
Oh, shit.
Okay. And then
all very good spots.
Yeah. And then went out to UC Davis, did the Master Brewers program out there, and then took a job at Deschutes as a production brewer.
Oh shit.
Oh, okay.
And then after about a year and a half there, got promoted to run their like R&D brewery out there, which was super cool and a great opportunity to get to like dial in some stuff and learn a lot really quickly. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was awesome, man.
Yeah, super good time. And then Oregon is obviously beautiful too. So and then
I've always heard that fucking Northwest beer scene is crazy.
Yeah, it's not honestly though, dude. I feel
I've
like
never been over there.
St. Louis, I think, has a better beer scene than up there, at least in where I was at in Bend, because up there it was so just hop heavy, whereas here I feel like we have such a great diversity of styles.
I love hearing that. It's so wild. Like, I'm not originally from STL, but like one of my biggest ties in St. Louis is like craft beer scene is ridiculous. And like I turned 21 here, and I lived in Maplewood at the time, right by Schlafly, and like I immediately just started getting into craft beer, and our scene is great. So for me, moving from smaller areas, I'm just like, that's one of the coolest spots in St. Louis. But then as time's gone on, and like as we started the show and stuff, now like sit at a bar and talk to anybody, it's so common that I'll hear that from people. Like we were sitting at one spot, and there's a guy from England talking about how much he loves craft beer in St. Louis.
Yeah, that's cool.
Moved here, I don't remember how many years ago he was talking about, but that was one of the first people that told me. He was like, yeah, like of course the pub scene is great, the English beers are great, but he was like, nobody gets away from like the traditionalism. He was like, I don't get to experience craft beer the same way home, the way that you guys do here. And he was like, I love it. And he travels for work, and like, the guy was telling me all the different cities he's been to. He was like, I think Missouri and St. Louis has one of the best craft beer scenes that people just aren't fully realizing. The Northwest has a reputation. I know Colorado has a real big reputation, but like,
well, not to toot any horns here, I think there's at least two guys that kind of recognize it. And that's why we started a show about it.
Smart move.
Yeah. Fucking STL, man. The whole St. Louis area, there's great beer. And what like part of what like why we're out here, and like this is part of some of our focus, is it's like all over America there's small towns popping up with some heavy hitting craft brewers, but we have a lot of spots within 2 hours outside of St. Louis where it's just like, man, there's some great beer.
All right, so up next we got Commons.
Commons. So that's our House Hazy. And the story behind this one is that we brewed it with all public varietal hops. So you guys are familiar with like the Mosaics and the Citras of the world. Those are, you know, privatized, if you will, and that like the farmers have to pay to grow them. They're charged royalties basically.
I have heard that. I don't know how or why that works that way, but I have heard
it just depends on who's bred it, you know. And so then you know there's there's a huge marketing campaign
so
behind those hops.
Corporation X created the Citra hop.
Yep.
You got to pay to be able to, because every seed drove.
Oh,
yep.
Shit.
Yep.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
Venture then we need to create some hops that just kind of take over.
Yeah. And so these are all not that.
Monthly checks.
Right. These are all just the public varietal hops. So the proof that the goal with this was to make like a really delicious hop forward hazy, but with all those public varietal hops. We use Vista, Cashmere, and a hop that's right now just a number, which is 008 in that beer.
Ooh. That is so like hoppy, but not overpowering. And honestly, it tastes
like a nice Kush.
I was just gonna say it has that skunkiness to it. I was like, yeah, man, that actually tasted like.
Pair very well with an OG Kush, perhaps a pineapple Kush,
perhaps a little AK-47.
Shit, if you can find it,
it'd be a great beer for that.
But no, I mean that like the first thing I took one sip of that, I was like, yeah. We were talking about earlier before we filmed.
Yeah, can of beers.
About like can of beers.
Cannabis
that tastes
beers.
like it could have been a can of beer.
I know it's coming. I know the science has to be weird. Tell us about it. Who's got a can of beer out there? Who's got one in your area? I want to know.
Who's got one in their basement? I don't care.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
that's honestly that probably is who has it.
Yeah, they're the ones who knows the most about it.
Yeah, some dude in his basement.
It's a beer that has cannabis and you can taste it. It's another thing if it has a decent THC content.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, it's alcohol and it's THC. Let's drink this beer. Let's find out.
Yeah.
Even if you're a home brewer, shit, hit me up. Let's find out.
Well, I wonder if that's why nobody's done it, because alcohol and because the seltzers don't have the seltzers don't have alcohol,
especially like with regulation.
Yeah, it's a weird legal area for sure. Yeah.
So it'd have to be an NA with THC,
probably.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, but NA has such light beer flavors that could actually work out really well. An NA beer.
Well, and so many breweries now are doing like
cannabis.
Decent NA beers that
Yeah, it's a good realm to explore.
Yeah, I mean, my wife's been trying them because she has never been a beer drinker in her life, and every beer I've cracked since she's been pregnant, she's like, let me just
sniff it.
Let me just smell it.
Oh, she's like, I never liked hops before.
So like a wine taste, you just swirl it around her mouth and spit it out. No, this is nice, man. It's definitely a full-on session IPA. There's nothing about it's not too hard in any one direction.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's meant to be just like
balanced.
crowd pleaser, one of our year-round beers, to get some, we're out here in Hillsboro. It's a big AB country, so to get people turned on to hazy IPAs, that's kind of what we came up with.
It's pretty damn hot out here, first weekend of August. So
hot.
Obviously these are warming up a little bit, but us as real craft people, we reckon, I know you can tell, this tastes great at the temperature it's at right
Sweet.
now.
Yeah,
that's good.
It really does.
I feel like all the flavors there, I bet you crispy cold, it's not the same experience.
Yep.
No, that's going to mask a little bit of that hoppiness.
The finish, especially, because it lingers, man. And
I mean,
I like it.
More than any IPA I've had in a long time, though, that really does finish like Bud. It's weird. It just, not Bud Light, not Budweiser, but marijuana. Like
it's not so much the exhale, it's the inhale.
Yeah, it smells like you're just smelling a big old bag of weed. Like, you remember back in the day when you or your buddy used to sell, and your buddy would be like, "Hey, man," and he'd have this bag of weed that was like this big. He'd be like, put your face in that, and you're,
oh, and you have the Pineapple Express. I want to live in there.
I want to live in there, man.
You love it. You want to be it.
Oh. All right, so after Commons, we have
For Real. So this
For Real.
is a West Coast IPA that we brewed with fir tips, hence the name For Real.
What?
FIR.
Yep.
What the fuck?
For Real. Fir tips, Citra, Simcoe, Mosaic, Eldorado. So all the heavy hitters in that one, and then some local honey as well, just to make sure it dried out nice and
IPA with some honey.
Yep.
Part of the color, huh?
Cheers to that one, buddy.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love that you guys are using honey like that.
Yeah, super versatile ingredient. I mean, dries beers out, sweetens beers up, pops the hops.
And dude, right on the front of the palate.
You get the tips, fir tips.
Yeah, I love that.
Hoppy, but there's that little bit of sweetness.
That sweetness mellows that out perfectly.
Because these have warmed up a little bit, I think they're at the perfect temp right now. Because I mean, dude, that flavor is awesome.
Yeah,
I think the evergreen really shows through nicely in that.
This man's a mad scientist over here.
Yeah, dude, this is awesome. And I mean, it's like super clear, dude.
Yeah, West Coast.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, that's fucking nice.
Yeah, that was a
So
fun
the
one.
difference between West Coast, East Coast. Tell the people, what's our main difference if we're getting a West Coast IPA versus an East Coast IPA?
Yep. All right, so I mean, clarity is one thing. Obviously, West Coast generally tend to be, you know, pretty clear. East Coast, obviously, very hazy. Your yeast character is going to be another thing, whereas West Coast, that yeast is kind of just hanging out in the background, not adding a ton to the beer. Super crisp, clean, letting those hops really pop in their truest form. Whereas like an East Coast, you got those yeasts that are throwing some fruity esters that are playing into the characteristics of the aromas and flavors that you're tasting along with the hops. And those are like the two primary differences, I would say. And then you kind of have that hybrid, like juicy IPA category where some of that gets blurred a little bit. So,
and there's no
signature Midwest,
and there's no like clearing agent or anything like that in there.
That was just time. Just time. Yeah, just like hanging out in the tank and clarified. Yep.
That's fucking.
Yep. And I guess one more thing you could say is that generally West Coasts are more bitter, a little bit drier than
Pioneer.
East Coast. Yeah, for sure.
Dry hop.
Yep. Pioneer, less tropical fruit and stuff. But today it's all kind of blurred a little bit. You know, with how
the trends have taken over, and now it's like it's got to be hazy, hoppy, juicy.
Yeah.
All in one.
Dude, I know. Yeah. You just got to figure out how to do it, I guess.
And it's funny because, like, I really do love IPAs. So, I mean, I don't dislike any of those, but it's more and more as the trends have pushed it in those directions where it's like, yeah, we got to do the haziest, the hoppiest, the juiciest all at once. I'm like, I'm more and more just like moving back towards just a traditional IPA.
Yeah. And what's good beer?
What's your ABVs on these two?
So, common sits right at 5%, and then for real is 6.3.
I mean, that's perfect.
I mean, the goal is to try to, I think session beers have gotten to like a pretty bad knock over the years of being just like super watery and lacking flavor, but just trying to pack
not at all here.
Into it.
The components in this, like, and it's cool because like you can kind of tell that, like the honey, you can kind of taste it a little bit, but it's completely different than that other one.
Yep, for sure. Yep, it's
like
not quite as sweet as that one.
The beer, obviously, the beer is different, but I mean, like the honey quality, the texture of it. The flavor of it is completely different.
Yeah, and it's a different honey, which is kind of goes to that point as well. Yep.
Yeah, man. No, that's awesome. This is really, really cool. And honey is not the most used ingredient.
Not in beer.
No.
If anything, the only thing that comes to mind is I know of a few honey bocks.
Sure.
That I've had before in the past, but that's like I'm really, really thinking about it. And I'm like, I think that's the only beer that I can think of with honey, and there's like a couple different breweries that I know I've tried that from.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I'm like,
no, I mean that was like I said,
fucking IPA, man.
Yeah. I said when I was looking at the website last night, I always like to try and look up kind of what we're walking into when we go to a brewery.
A little research,
and I noticed that use of honey, and that stuck out to me last night because, like I said, the mead thing, like we're really interested to see that, but it's such a really interesting ingredient because if you buy sugar from somewhere, it's sugar,
right?
Honey, depending on what region it was, even if it's wildflower honey, that wildflower honey in southeastern Missouri is going to be different than wildflower honey in northwestern Kansas.
And a lot of commercial, like bulk packaged wildflower honey that we see a lot of times in the store, like a lot of shit that we get from Sam's, Walmart, like the big containers, it's wildflower honey from Texas.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you're saying, like from other regions, it could still be wildflower honey, but it's not the same.
And then you have orange blossom. I mean, you got so many different kinds of honey.
Well, you remember like one of the first times that we went to Four Brothers, shout out to the Four Bros, love you guys. One of the first times we went there, we were both into mead, but we had no idea like how it's made, the details. We just knew it's honey wine.
Right.
Yeah.
And like,
it's what Vikings drank.
That was one of the big things that Dan told us that always stuck with me is I'm like, oh, dude, you're right. Because we were asking him about locally sourced honey. And he was like, yeah, for the most part, we try, or at least Midwest, but like shit's expensive and you can't control all the factors and stuff, so they do the best they can. But he was telling me, but it really doesn't matter because he was like, we could get from the same farmer, from the same apiary every single time. And like, like he said, he was like, you can't control what the bees do.
Yep.
So it could be the exact same hives and the season, it's going to change.
Yep.
The honey is going to be different. And that's just like one of the coolest, unique things about it.
Yep. We work with a guy named Brian who owns a company called World Honey Exchange, and he gets honey from all over the world. And so that was in that Wu Wei. is a Chilean variety of honey. And so he has all these cool honeys he sources from like Africa, South America, Mexico, you know, the United States.
That's amazing, dude.
And just the variety of flavors that you can get is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Chilean honey sounds like it's gonna like make me trip out or something.
What is? And there is the trippy honey. Like
Yeah, dude.
those
You
dudes
make
that
a beer
climb
with
up
mad
there,
honey?
mad honey.
Yeah, yeah.
Dudes climbing up there getting stung, and they're just like, I don't care.
It's worth it.
All right, so next we got ooh, yeah, I'm not.
Komo Rebi.
Komo Rebi.
So that is a Japanese word that means light filtering through the trees. It's kind of served as the inspiration for this beer. So that's why it's a little bit hazier. So this kind of is like in that realm of like in between the West and the East Coast. So
Yeah, man, super hazy.
yep. So light filtering through the trees, sort of inspired by my time in Oregon, hiking into the mountains, in the evergreen forest. So this beer is one with spruce tips. So it might be similar to the fir, but you can kind of pick up a little bit of a difference. There's a little bit more of a melon, a little bit more of a sweetness to it than hopped Estrada and El Dorado hops.
Still that pepperiness, the pininess.
Mm-hmm.
This is nice. Is this my favorite one? I don't know, man.
Being a hophead, those first three or those the last three we've had
was really, really good.
I mean, they're all really, really good.
The Wu-Wei, though.
But getting into the IPA, the IPA realm,
the Wu-Wei kind of has me, dog.
that Wu-Wei was fantastic.
No, this is really nice, and you're right. Like it's got like that little peppery kind of hit to it, you know, which is like, if you're not familiar, that's kind of a weird way to describe a beer. I don't want to make it sound like it tastes like there's pepper sprinkled into it.
Yeah.
It's not like that. But if you taste it, you know exactly what I mean. You know?
Yeah.
It's the combination of those ingredients.
There are a lot of herbs
together.
and spices that have kind of a peppery
Right,
taste to it. Like I would say a lot of times lemongrass that not only has citrus but kind of a peppery taste to it.
For sure.
Right. So like
A pininess maybe is being experienced in that way.
yeah.
The hippie stoner side of me is just loving that. I'm like, do I taste the area?
Yeah.
Like I taste the fucking earth that we're sitting
For sure.
on in these beers.
Yeah.
That might sound weird, but like, no, it's like, it's the same thing. Like when you go to somebody's house who's serious about gardening and they make a meal and other than like the meat, everything is from the garden. You can taste it. They don't have to be a chef. You can taste the freshness.
That it's fresh.
You can taste the soil.
Totally.
You know, it's like the air that it's been growing in and everything. It's that same kind of vibe, and I don't think I've ever had that from fucking drinking beer.
Dude, that's what we're going for. Yeah.
I certainly have never had that from beer, and that is, again, the word unique makes this whole thing you guys have going on here so unique. Is that I taste the earth in the beers, I can taste the earth in the food we had, like the whole thing. Go catch a fish and fry it up and taste the water, right?
We're playing one beer at a time, fish fry out here in Sandy Valley. You're gonna see us out here. He's on that side, I'm on this side. We're gathering a big ass net together.
There you go, dude.
Dude, I'm gonna come out here with I'm gonna come out here and just spearfish. Like
it is loaded up, man.
yeah, like you're just looking at it. It is loaded.
Do some fishing. We'll come meet you.
Yep.
All right, so we got one more.
one more. Yeah,
Mariposa.
Mariposa.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So that's the Spanish word for butterfly. This is a pretty personal beer for me. This beer was brewed for my sister who died by suicide, and so it's inspired by her. Yeah, and so it's a beer with. Yep. Yeah, appreciate it. But you know, it's one little thing I could try to do. You know, so we donate portions of this beer to a local mental health agency, Fighting Chance Foundation.
Okay.
Sort of the story behind this, Mariposa.
No, the name of the foundation?
Fighting Chance Foundation.
Fighting Chance.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so
take a picture of this and tag that.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
And so the mental health story of this beer. So it's a beer with raspberries, cocoa nibs, cocoa husks, and vanilla. And so it pours this, very nice red color from the raspberries, but beneath that are these dark flavors, these kind of dark thoughts that we all have.
Oh, dude,
the cocoa and the vanilla.
That is, so I was reading this one. That again was one of the ones I was reading yesterday. I was like, ooh, that's really fucking interesting.
Yep.
And then the way you just described that is, I mean, your sister, that's horrible to hear that. I mean, I've had friends that have had siblings. It's fucked up.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
That, fuck, man. I mean, that almost brought a tear to my eye, the way you described the flavor profile of this. and the poetic flavor profile.
Right,
of
and
it
that's
is
the art,
absolutely
you know?
beautiful.
Yep.
And and no, very cool. As soon as you said raspberry and nibs,
Right.
it's not a stout.
Yep. Because
Yeah.
you totally expect that. So
I'm like,
the dark
okay,
flavors of a
okay.
stout and a fruit beer.
The clink.
Set it down.
Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, we get justice on this photo. Make sure this one is right.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of Tanzanian Miombo honey in there too, which is
nice.
an area of like really big unique butterfly population in Tanzania. So and the reason for the whole butterfly thing is she loved butterflies. Like the word mariposa to her was a very beautiful word, and this whole symbolism of butterflies. So that's the story behind that. And in total,
man.
And at the same time, you hear neighbors just popping off rounds.
right?
Yeah, we are.
We're in
out
Hillsboro,
here in the
yeah.
country.
We are out here in Hillsboro.
in the country of
Cheers,
Missouri.
buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's terrible. I fucking hate that for you, but
Yeah, it's too. It's
beautiful,
it's an epidemic for sure.
memorial.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
very cool.
We did it last year as just a small batch, and then people received it well, and so this year we did a large batch of it to just grow that donation.
The sweetness, the bitterness. There's almost a creaminess in the
Yeah.
middle there.
Yeah, that cream. It kind of drinks like a smoothie beer
Yeah.
without being all thick and heavy.
No lactose.
Because man, honestly, and I don't dislike lactose in beer. It gives it that nice creaminess. Like I don't dislike that, but I have yet to have a smoothie beer that I actually enjoy. I stopped trying them. I think I kind of fucking hate them. Honestly, not because they taste bad. A lot of them taste pretty good. I don't like how they drink. I don't like how they sit. And it's just if I want a thick beer like that, it's like, bro, I'll drink a stout. I'll drink a porter. It's more enjoyable.
Right.
It settles better. I think the smoothie beers kind of suck.
Dude, this also almost has a finish of
like that without being a smoothie beer.
There's also almost a finish of like fruit cereal.
Yeah.
In there.
So with like the chocolate.
Yeah.
That's also only 4.4%, so it's again like a ton of flavor in a little 4% package.
Dude, that's what I was like. Whenever I taste something that flavorful,
roll up for me. Some beer candy.
When I taste something that flavorful, I'm like, well, that's got to be
right. You think it's going to be 8% or whatever. Yep.
We should do that. Somebody's gonna fucking steal that idea. Make some beer candy.
This dude did make beer candy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. If this wasn't a hard candy like fruit roll up or some shit.
Yep.
Fucking
Another cool thing about that is that cocoa husk. So we get the cocoa husk from Honeymoon Chocolate. They're in St. Louis as well, and the cocoa husk is like a byproduct of the chocolate making process. Typically, it just goes to waste, but it has a ton of chocolate flavor. Some people make tea out of it, but you got the husk and you got the nib, and the nib is what goes to make the chocolate bar. The husk just kind of gets discarded. So it's kind of an upcycled ingredient that we used into this beer because it was just going to get tossed, and we turned it into chocolate flavor.
So how did you kind of connect with them to get? Had you used the husk in
I had never used that before. That was totally on their recommendation. I hit them up knowing that I like the way they source their cocoa and whatnot, and so they were stoked to collaborate on it. And then I had them out here to try a different beer that we had used like nibs in and like a fruit beer, and they're like, "Oh, this would be great with cocoa husk." I was like, I have no idea what that is. And so then they told me, and it was like, yes, we're going to do that. They're like, basically it's all that milk chocolatey flavor, but nibs can sometimes lend a little bit of a bitterness, especially in large amounts. The husk, no, like just straight up like milk chocolate. So
interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah,
man.
super cool ingredient.
Completely different take on a common ingredient.
Right.
One of my favorite things in doing this show and not just trying all the beers, but meeting the different brewers we've had and the different philosophies. Like Chad at Iron Hops is super traditional, did his studying in Germany. And so all of his, you can see that through his beers.
American influence,
right?
But then makes it as traditional as he can because of his training.
And then we come out here and you have this whole story of you started brewing here, but you went out west and especially, your time in Oregon, but then the land, your whole philosophy. I mean, that's what I love is meeting brewers with an interesting perspective. And people talk about artists making music, film, TV, music, but dude, I can tell your influence is different than Chad's, and it's this is your art, and it's beautiful to be able to experience that.
Appreciate it
in such a different way because people talk about we're big movie guys too, right? And so directors always talk about their influences, and that's why their movies look like this. Something like this, nobody talks about like your influences and why your beers taste this way.
Right.
That's why I love that we get the opportunity to sit down with people, let you tell your story. Because I mean, this beer right here these are all your story. This is so much your story.
Yep, for sure.
It's beautiful, but all of this just has.
That's just a very unique brew too. You know, and honestly, like I got to give you guys that credit. I'm real big on like, because I've said it in recent episodes too. If I have a beer that really stands out that much, I have to highlight that I'm like, not to compare everybody to each other, but it's all beer, man. It's hard not to. So when I come across a beer where I'm like, this beer really doesn't remind me of anything I've ever had, you know, like we did Steampunk and we had the Kentucky Common, and the first time my eyes lit up, I was like, dude, I know beer. I drink a lot of beer. I was like, this tastes like I'm trying beer for the first time. I don't know this beer. It doesn't remind me of anything. I can't put my finger on it.
Right.
Dude, every single one of these brews tastes completely different.
Yeah, appreciate
anything
it,
I've ever had in the same style or a similar style. What you're doing with honey is different than any other beer I've had with honey. The fruit flavors and I mean, like I said, man, as like we love to cook, you know,
it's a lot like that.
Cooks, man, and I think that's part of why like we're loving that. Is it's like I'm like, dude, I can taste where you guys are at.
Yeah, there's so much to be explored.
That's just a cool experience, man.
Yep.
This man is not a director; he's an auteur. An auteur.
Now spell auteur.
AUTEUR. Auteur.
Somebody Google and check him.
I'm damn close if I'm not right. I did take film class in college.
I studied film in college.
And high school. I took film twice. Film class, I will tell you, film class in high school was a little different. College, we actually studied like auteur. High school was like, you guys want to watch Fight Club?
Fight Club. Let's talk about why Fight Club is a cool movie.
Here's Green Street Hooligan.
Yeah, we're gonna watch it. Sign off on this one. So, what were you drinking, man?
I was drinking Wu Wei. Yeah,
okay.
And a little bit more about that beer that I didn't lean into with when you guys were drinking it. But so Wu Wei is this Taoist philosophy of just kind of going with the flow, like loose translation there. But it was supposed to be this beer that we brewed with black locust flowers, which is a locally foraged thing, but like Mother Nature wasn't having it this year. There was not really many black locust flowers to be found. And so we pivoted. We thought like I had some frozen persimmons to use. I wasn't really loving what it was doing specifically with that beer. And so then we had the lemongrass that we had gotten from some of the farms that we work with. And that's what we ended up choosing. So just kind of that, pathway to how we got to where we got with that was just like, you're not always going to be able, especially with how we brew, like you come up with this plan from, the Deschutes in me, like the regional brewery in me is like, have this calendar built out.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work that way, especially when you're using ingredients from the land. And so that was kind of the story that beer is telling.
Man, it's delicious, dude.
All right, Joe.
I'm loving it.
Pick 3 for me.
We're all so fucking different. Okay, well, it's a fuck yeah flight board.
That's without a given.
So good. So
in case Kyle doesn't know our rating scale, we have to say this every episode.
Neanderthal
our Neanderthal rating scale.
We did start in the basement, just sitting at a table drinking beer. So we kind of stick to our roots.
Yeah, dude, totally.
Coming across the goddamn bog myrtle is kind of what led to.
Also a must mention.
So our scale is very simple. We have and that is something that we're probably just not going to try again.
Mm-hmm.
The bog myrtle would fall under that. Then meh. And then there's, okay, we're like, it's on tap. I might try it again. Somebody brings it to a party, I'll try it again.
And realistically, that's where most
beers
fall. It's like an okay. Yeah. It's a strong okay, but it's like, hey, this is okay.
Solid.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah, man, I'll do it.
And then the fuck yeah.
That's the beer that, like, it's not just good. It's a fuck yeah because I will travel to go and get it. Because if I have a friend who's going down that way, I'm like, hey, pick me up some of this. Hey, I'm gonna Venmo you some money. Bring me back a case of that. That's a fuck yeah. When I'm like, damn, dude, I don't want to spend $80 on these 4 bottles, but fuck yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, like, that's what we mean. And I will absolutely travel out here for either of these.
Literally any single one of these beers.
Appreciate it. It's awesome.
I would absolutely travel back down here for. But Joe, give me your 3.
It's hard, man. I want to lean towards the IPAs.
That's the point.
I do, but I think I'm gonna have. Honestly, man, I think probably Union number 3. Which one was? Let me see. So
Commons for real, and then Como Rebby was the last one.
I really like. It's hard between these two because they have similar qualities, but there's like that earthy pineness that's a little bit different. And I think the For Real I might like a little.
Yeah, it's a little bit stronger in that one. I think.
That's my number 2. Wu Wei has to be my number 1. Fuck yeah. And then honestly, I love the story, but also I haven't had these flavor combos in anything that's not a dark ass beer. I think this is my star.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Star of the show isn't always like we do an honorable mention sometimes. We're kind of like a fucking dog show, you know. I'm like, so that's my top 3 star of the show.
Yeah.
Third, second, first, best show.
Yeah, it's like
I mean, look at the testicles
very
on
good,
that. Yeah.
full-bodied beer, man. And I really love how there is that cocoa hit, that chocolate
it's cool.
hit,
Yep.
and it's not a dark beer.
Yep.
You know, if I blind tasted this, I think I would probably think, "What the fuck is that?"
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
You open your eyes. Yeah, you're like, it's not dark.
Very cool, man. With the strong fruit taste too.
Yep.
So, for me, I'm just gonna blurt it out because these IPAs are so good. We've had so many good IPAs, and yours are super unique, especially using honey and all that. But I have to get away from the IPA sometimes.
Yeah.
I would travel any day of the week to have these IPAs again, but I got Wu Wei April because it was so different. I love that apricot beer.
True.
And then Mariposa. I mean, that's my star of the show as well because again, it's just so unique. The flavor profile you don't expect from a pinkish beer.
That's what I'm saying.
That it's just
hard circumstances, but a beautiful story.
Yeah,
and at the same time, just the uniqueness of the beer. The fact that there's chocolatey cocoa hits on.
I'm gonna finish all of these, but this is the first one I haven't been able to put down.
Like, come on, man. Well, it's just so unique.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah.
Again,
that's the goal.
like, there's qualities about it that remind you of this is something I would drink in a heavy dark.
As I get to the bottom, I even just got a hit of cotton candy in there.
Sure. Yeah, dude. I can see it.
There's just these flavors that just keep hitting, keep building, and I'm sure if we had started this one colder, as it warmed up, you would get layers and layers and layers.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, those are my 3. I got to go Wu Wei, April, and number 1 is Mariposa. That's star of the show.
Yeah, Wu Wei is definitely a beer I would drink the shit out of.
It's so unique. I mean, that tea flavor in there is
Solana though. The rice lager, that's dude. I can just keep this.
Well, yeah, man. I'm cutting the grass every time I'm
pounding.
Every time I'm cutting the grass, I'm cracking a Solana. If I can.
Exactly. It's the perfect spot for that beer.
But
rice lagers. If you're not familiar, get fucking familiar. If you're in our area, it's very worth the trip to come out to Hillsboro.
Sandy Valley Beers, a lake. Sit next to it and drink beer.
It's a good time. Yep. Mm-hmm. Can't go wrong. Yep. It's right there.
It's perfect.
You win.
Sometimes the simplest shit in life.
That dude.
Is beers next to a lake.
Yeah, man.
So it's
back to what I said earlier when we first came out. We were walking around earlier. We were just getting a couple little pics. I was like, man, I really should have brought a cigar out here today.
Mm-hmm.
This is the perfect little spot and just post up,
hang out.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll have a cigar out here when you find a wife. Get your ass married out here.
Do I have to pick one?
Well, you could do that weird thing and marry yourself. Commit to yourself for the rest.
I could just convert and be Mormon.
Do whatever you want, dude.
I mean, even then, I don't think even in Utah, I don't think it's legal for polygamy.
Dude, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah, no. What you do is you get a wife and then your wife gets a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Is what you do.
So I need a woman of the Mormon faith who wants girlfriends.
Uh-huh.
Is that a real thing?
I don't know,
That
dude.
can't be real.
I don't know.
It's a TLC show.
When I coach,
that's a TLC
I will tell you, quick short thing. When I coached high school lacrosse, I had a kid on my team. Him and his mom were Mormon. I was very close to her. She's like, it's not what you think it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I
and I'm
believe
like,
that, dude.
Really? And she's like, I promise you it is not TLC.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's just like that's the
really?
Right.
I don't believe you.
I don't believe you.
Because I've seen TLC.
Yeah, but
I was like, you're telling me, hold on. Hold on. You're telling me something called The Learning Channel is lying to me. I don't believe you. Bullshit.
Rob, you got a favorite?
What was the first one?
That was you had Yunin, Wu Wei, Como Rebi, Mariposa.
I think they were.
Cool. Yeah, I love that beer.
Probably my favorite.
Sweet. Yeah, understated, like simple.
Yeah, and it was really good to be
It's
drinking on a
refreshing.
hot day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that beer is
It
just
was
Pilsner malt
light.
and the tea, basically.
Yeah, I mean that tea.
Mm-hmm.
That tea.
The
I
tea
honestly.
gives it a cool flavor.
It was definitely smashable. You know, I
Yep.
like a drink.
I mean, if I had to pick a fourth, that's probably my
Yeah,
fourth.
that's fun beer. Sometimes that's what's best. Is just the simplest thing, you know. Like,
Yeah, man. I mean, shit. We just put down a couple of flights, and I'm like, hey, I'm not all fucked up.
yeah, that's the goal, dude. You know, enjoy it.
Drink
You know,
responsibly.
Earth, wind,
Session
water.
beers
mm-hmm.
are better if you're going to drink 9
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I love it, man. Bro, thanks for fucking having
Thanks
us
for
out.
thanks for
having
coming
us
out.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm so
anything you want to
excited for
plug?
this.
Anything you want to?
Any upcoming events?
We got a couple events coming up. I'm trying to think what we got. This weekend on the 10th. This coming weekend, we're going to be at this St. Louis Vegan Market down across from IKEA at 2 Acre Park.
I saw an ad for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm curious
I
to
bet
check
it's gonna
that
be
out.
pretty big,
Yeah,
man.
I would think so.
And that's probably a great scene for you,
yeah,
too.
I think just kind of with kind of the beers that we're
Well, just-
making.
Yeah, the kind of beers
What
that you're
is 2
making.
Acre Park? Is that like around the foundry or what?
It's right around there.
Yeah.
I've never been, but yeah, I think it's literally like across the street from IKEA right there.
It's one of those, it's a park.
Yeah,
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, it's
not
like a little
Well, I didn't
green
know if
space
that
in
was
the
technically
city.
like a part of the foundry or.
It's a city park.
Yeah.
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 You know?
Eh.
Besides,
Well,
like,
Forest
a dog
Park is a city
type
park.
shit.
You know?
Yeah, but that's a real park, though. You know?
Yeah, I think it's like a space for events and like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
if you live in the city to see some grass. But yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. For real,
Um,
that's the tough part.
yeah. So that's what's coming up this weekend. Then we're gonna be at Peevely Days next week,
Oh, cool.
Thursday through
Okay.
Saturday, and then there's a vegan barbecue fest, which should be interesting, out at the same park on the 18th.
I can't go to that. If we go to
yeah,
that, dude,
I can't
I'm
go.
gonna be
I'm gonna be
If
honest.
we
Like,
go, I'm just gonna be a shithead and just
Like,
I'm gonna
I-
talk
you
shit
know,
the whole time.
You
I try
never
to-
know,
I-
dude.
I-
Might be
here's the thing.
surprised.
I
Everybody's
try to
surprised.
live and let live. I try to live and let live. I
don't have a-
really do.
I don't have a problem with you being vegan. Cool.
I don't
man.
have a problem with you being
That's
vegan either.
awesome.
I do have a problem with you having a vegan barbecue. Just a little bit.
I'm excited to try it.
If it's tofu, okay. But all the fake meats, I just can't do it.
Yeah,
I just can't do it, man. And nothing is gonna convince me that they're actually healthy.
Well,
fake meats. Yeah, like
Yeah, dude, I'm like,
totally
no. I'm like, if
Right.
it's vegetable product,
right.
like-
But if
like
it's like
black
lab
bean
grown,
burger,
whatever, yeah,
fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah,
And hey, don't be too carnivorous. Black bean burgers can be great.
they're delicious.
But a fake meat burger, I'm like, why would I not just have like a black bean burger?
Yeah, totally.
You
I'm
know?
kind of in that boat.
to me though, barbecue at
Yeah.
its core,
Slow
at
smoked
its
meat.
slow smoked
It's beef and pork.
meat, beef,
Damn it.
pork, chicken.
Throw chicken in there, yeah.
Throw some chicken in there.
But beef and pork, damn it.
Beef and pork, damn it.
Ribs, pork belly, brisket.
Hell, and if I'm making vegetables while I'm barbecuing, there's meat involved in those vegetables.
Yeah, we take the tallow from the beef. We
Exactly.
pour it on the green beans.
Exactly.
Waste
Aim.
nothing.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother. Preach it. So, like you said, I ain't gonna knock the vegans, but barbecue.
I mean,
Well,
I
call
would
it-
go.
Can
but
we call it
again,
the vegan
we're
cookout?
shitty
Let's just call it the vegan cookout. That's all I'm asking.
yeah.
Let's have a little compromise.
Opens it up. Yep.
Yeah, man. It's beautiful.
Well,
Thanks again, man.
Yeah, dude.
I'm
Kyle,
looking
thanks
forward to
again.
this. I've been
Absolutely.
talking about it. We're
Yeah,
excited.
I'm glad we made it happen.
Yeah, man.
this is one of the most unique beer drinking experiences I've ever had.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Here.
100%.
Just
And
fucking.
it's not just because we do a beer show. We're talking beer. I don't think we've said that before. This is a beer experience I've never had anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's just different, man. There's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of things where you're like, oh, okay, it's a Kolsch. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
taste
Mhm.
why it's a Kolsch. But also you can taste how it's different
Yeah.
than
Yep.
any Kolsch around.
That's kind of like around here we say like I want these to be like familiarly unfamiliar, you know, so where it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
like it's too scary, you know, it's not something that's like ridiculously out there, but
Yeah.
like you'll taste and be like, yeah, I've tasted some of these flavors before, but there's something else in there that I can't quite
Yeah.
pin down, you know.
You're going just outside the comfort zone, which I
Yes,
like, as
exactly.
opposed to like I'm going to do the wildest shit you can think
Totally.
of. And then, you know, you got Jackson Pollock and
Right.
I use Jackson Pollock. Do you know about the CIA and Jackson Pollock?
loosely.
Jackson Pollock wasn't actually a popular painter. The CIA bought all his paintings to make him more popular than Russians. So like that shit was never
was the
actually
reason?
popular. So his style of painting was not actually popular. We were just convinced it was. Kind of like the wine we were talking about earlier.
Totally. Yeah.
How like you could take a really
Convinced, good.
fancy label and slap it on something, people will buy it. So I like that you're going outside the box, but you're not like, I'm gonna go to left field over here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because then all you wind up is the pretentious people are like, no, I had the garbage. He filters it through a dumpster. And I'm telling you, it just brings this whole new
And
flavor.
I just pay $100 for it. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
So
What you need to do is you need to get this gazebo fixed up, do tastings out here on
That's
the
a great
water.
call.
That'd be a great
Yeah,
idea.
that would be awesome.
Your beers are so unique; they deserve to be served in a unique.
Yeah, that'd be
little-
fun.
man, that's a good idea. So this has been another great episode of One Beer at a Time. OBAAT on the road at Sandy Valley. Fuck, we got history lessons. Learned some agricultural things.
Yeah, agriculture,
Yeah, man.
history. Yeah, man, it's one of the best experiences we've ever had.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. I'll take it.
Cheers, buddy. Al, thank you.
Yeah, thank y'all.
This is fucking great.
Mm-hmm. It's fun, man.
So
It's a fun ingredient.
we're kind of cruising the property right now. Got some hives here.
Yep.
What do you guys use? Do you guys actually use this in anything?
So this was the first year. We actually got these put in place a few months ago and just harvested like 20 pounds of honey from them.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So
Yeah, it's
over
gorgeous.
the years, we're going to grow this program to be able to have more and more honey, and then we're going to use it in our beers and in our kitchen, and then offer it obviously as well as just straight up raw honey. So
Yeah, and we'll
So
just
kinda
buy
where-
honey off
yeah.
you guys.
kind of where you guys have the hives placed. Do you really know what they're harvesting? Do you know like what kind of honey they're
a lot.
producing?
So there's some black locust trees around here that they'll forage, and then a lot of the other common thing around here is linden trees that they'll forage as well. And then there's obviously clover and whatnot around here too. Those are probably the main things, but yeah, there is some other things that they're working on just in this patch of forest here that's contributing to the honey
Do
as
you
well.
plan on trying to plant anything to see if you can kind of specifically get certain flavors into your honey? I don't know
Totally.
a lot about beekeeping, but I know
Yeah,
if you plant it, they will come, right?
Yeah.
Like
right. And I think they forage quite a distance too, like multiple miles. So it's not just like
No
what you
shit.
see here. Yep.
I don't think I
Yeah,
realized
that's crazy.
that.
That's part of like we were talking about earlier. That's part of what was so cool when Dan told us, no matter what, you can't control what the bees.
Well,
are
yeah,
doing.
no,
You know?
I
It's
understand
fucking
that,
sweet.
but like I didn't realize it was a few miles.
Mhm.
That's
yeah, it is pretty
Yeah.
far.
wow. Because you think of how small the bee is, I'm like,
Yeah.
man, that
they're
motherfucker
super
gets a quarter
cool.
mile.
Like, yeah,
How
it's super cool.
How did you guys get this set up? Did you bring bees in here? Did you set it up and the bees came?
So we're working. It's funny. We're actually working with another company called the Sandy Valley Honey Company. This guy named Matt, who we've been like partnering with, collaborating with to help us on the beekeeping front. And so he's kind of been managing it and then teaching me the what's what of it as we go along. To because it's just something I'm interested in doing. So to learn about. So it's
Yeah,
been cool to
man.
have his expertise. To
So
get us
you'll come
going.
out here in the bee suit and
Yeah. Yep. I'll come out with him, and he'll kind of walk me through some
I
stuff
wanna
with
do
whatever's
that.
going on in the day. Yeah. It's fun, and it's therapeutic in a way too, because you're so focused on just the bees.
hey man,
not
I'll
certain
happily
time.
watch you
Yeah.
beekeep.
I'd love to put a suit on.
It's cool. It's cool.
I'm scared. That's why I'm like, yeah, I'll do it.
Eh,
Yep.
I know
Yeah.
bees can't fuck you up, but I had childhood trauma.
See,
from
so did
wasps
I.
and yellow jackets. Like, there's a couple stories where I didn't deserve it, and I got it so fucking bad.
Dude, I had
For the
one.
longest,
I
was just
had.
like, nope.
I had one incident where I stepped on an underground hive, and 5 of them got up into my shirt.
Oh, dude.
And dude, I came running out of
You're
the.
just getting shanked up.
Dude, I come running out of the woods screaming. My
No.
buddy's dad had to pull my shirt off, throw the shirt on the ground. He's like stomping on my
Yeah.
shirt. I'm crying like,
Yeah, dude.
like a little bitch on the
See?
ground.
That's what. See,
Nah, I don't mess
I
with
was probably 8, 9. I was at Grandpa's house, and he had a broke down fucking riding lawnmower on the property, and I was out there NASCAR racing. In my mind, I was going 150 miles an hour,
them. In Talladega.
playing, mashing on the pedals, and then all of a sudden, I still fucking see it. That hood just boom, just a little bit, dude, and there was a big ass hive of yellow jackets in there, and I just been pissing them off.
Dude.
I literally felt them hitting my body. They swarmed out so.
All right, so we're inside. We're in the heart of the brewery.
Yep.
We're about to sample something you got coming up. What is this right
So
here?
this is a Belgian double that we brewed with sassafras leaves that we harvested from the property here.
That smells so fucking good.
Yeah,
To me, it smells just like Coca-Cola. Almost.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of crazy. It's like some brown sugar and plum too off of it.
Yeah, man.
That almost does
Sweetness.
taste like a soda.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really
Dr.
does.
Pepper or Coke or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh wow. Yeah, but still, it's a little bit floral.
Yeah.
Malty sweetness.
Yep.
Yeah, it's almost like one of those stevia sodas that's like not loaded up with. It's not loaded up with fake
It's
ingredients.
not granulated sugar.
Yeah,
But
so it
it's still got
kind of
that
tastes.
sweetness.
It leaves that little bit of natural flavor here.
So what kind of gallons are we rocking with here, man?
So on the outside of the room here, you got all the wine tanks. So that's harvest coming up in a couple weeks. So pretty soon those will be full and fermenting away. But then the heart and soul of the brewing operation, these vessels over here. So this 3-vessel skid you see right here is the brew house. This first 10-barrel vessel right here being the hot liquor tank. And then our 2-vessel steam powered 5-barrel brew house. So you got a combination mash and lauter ton, followed by a kettle and whirlpool. And then from there we have 3 5-barrel fermenters and 1 5-barrel bright tank.
So when you're making, like we were talking up at the house earlier, up at kind of the main bar.
Yep.
You kind of have 3 mainstays.
Yep.
3 seasonals and then 2 or 3 experimentals.
Yep.
So for your 3 mainstays, how many are you doing at it? Like how often are you brewing a batch of your mainstays?
So I mean, depends on what it is, but we're probably brewing those anywhere from like 4 to 6 times a year. And then the seasonals obviously are just kind of coming around once every season, and we'll just brew them once, and when they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah.
That's when we'll kind of move into the next either seasonal, or if it runs out before the season, we'll move into another experimental small batch thing that we have hanging out. So
not to give away anything. Are you working on any sort of October?
That's what I was gonna ask. What do we got coming for the fall?
What do we got coming for the fall?
So
any kind of Martzen or anything
Yep.
fun for Oktoberfest?
We have a fest beer fermenting right now with toasted pumpkin seeds through in the mash, and then we did a
not a pumpkin ale,
Yeah,
fest beer with pumpkin.
yeah.
Which I like that because I don't like that. As well as anyone, I don't like pumpkin spice everything where it's just that
Right.
that
So it's
fake.
still
So
some
like,
pumpkin, but it's like real pumpkin.
it's real pumpkin.
Yeah.
You're using pumpkin seeds.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. No, we just brewed a Mexican lager with some Oaxacan corn and marigolds.
Shit.
Oh, órale, vato!
Yep,
Ándale.
Trying to think what else, and we'll do.
It's always popular, easy drinking.
Yeah.
And then we'll do an IPA, like a West Coast IPA with marigolds. We'll do a hazy IPA with some of the Chardonnay grape juice that's going to be harvested here soon.
Cool.
Oh shit!
We do an amber lager with coffee and cardamom in the fall.
Oh man, that's right up my alley.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like I don't want to invite ourselves back out, but you let us know.
Yeah, dude, anytime.
We'll be back in like 6 weeks. I might have a newborn strapped to my
newborn
chest,
baby.
but it sounds like we need to come out and try some of the seasons.
Yeah,
I mean,
please
those
do.
are right up our alley. Like you said, we're hopheads. We love all that,
dude,
but
it's beautiful.
nothing hits better, at least for beer guys like us, than fall seasonal.
I know, it's a great
I love
season
my
for
stouts.
beer.
I love the winter stouts. I really
Yep.
do. But still, the fall beers, it's just undeniably
Yeah.
the best shit.
Yep.
Well,
Fuck yeah. Been an awesome
Cheers, y'all.
time out here, man.
Yeah,
thank you, sir.
Thanks for having us out again. Sandy Valley, Hillsboro, Missouri.
Come check them out.
It's worth the trip, man. If you live in our area, come out here. If you're a beer drinker, get your ass out here. You're
Hey.
not going to be disappointed.
And if you mention one beer at a time, they'll say, "Oh, cool, man."